So I'm not the golden child. It's pretty obvious. Well, why is it obvious, you may ask? Because my parents kicked me out of my house while I was in high school because of a nasty rumor that was not true. By the way, I got a DNA test to prove that rumor wasn't true, but let me start from the beginning and I'll tell you how it ended up with my parents begging me, crawling back into my life saying, "We need you back." Parents have lofty expectations of their children. My parents were no different. They had lofty expectations of me as the older kid, while my brother could never do a wrong. And let me tell you, I noticed it right away. I didn't know how to explain it when I was young, but I knew something was different in the way my brother and I were treated. Once I was older, I was able to understand more of the difference in how they treated us, but the one thing I never understood was why. Why did they do that? I think one reason that it happened was because my brother was my parents' favorite. Come on, we've always thought at least once that our parents might have a favorite. If I were to ask my parents point blank, they would tell me that it wasn't true. Of course, they didn't have a favorite. They loved me and Jason equally. But one look at how we were treated and you would be able to tell Jason was their favorite. So here's my current problem and the reason I'm here. I cut my parents out of my life for years, but they've come back into my life after doing something horrendous. Other family members say that I should forgive and forget while I'm just upset. It's not easy to forgive and forget, which is why I'm coming here. I mean, what do you think I should do? First, I should back up a bit and explain a bit of the backstory so you can understand how the heck I got to where I am now with, well, my parents. I was born first to my parents, and then a year and a half later, my brother Jason was born. Out of the two of us, I was the one who was planned, while my brother was a bit of a surprise baby. Stereotypically, siblings so close in age are supposed to be close. But my brother and I are not. It's like I didn't want to be close to Jason anyways. The problem is, my parents made it clear they preferred him for some reason. He could get away even with the crime, and I could do a dang thing wrong. And, otherwise I would get grounded. It was odd that I was the one who was planned, and yet I was treated worse than my brother. Why did they let him get away with absolutely everything? It made no sense to me. Imagine how confusing that is for a kid who wants nothing more than their parents' love and acceptance. I'm always the one who was held to higher expectations, got better grades, did all my chores, complete all my hard activities at school, and never get in trouble. I adhered to everything my parents required of me, always got straight A's, and finished every single chore that they threw at me. When I got old enough, I traded in the after-school programs for a part-time job. But I was always on time and never late. Most importantly, I was never in trouble. Not once. The same could not be said for my brother. He was a hot mess from the moment my parents brought him home from the hospital. See, my brother got C's, D's, half-butted his chores, and was always getting into some kind of mischief. It's not like he was getting in trouble with the law or anything, but my brother would be towing the line quite a bit. It made me mad because no matter how hard I tried, my parents just wouldn't let up. Anytime I slipped up a bit, not that I did very often, I would get yelled at and punished, and, well, punishment usually consisted of a grounding, which made me mad, and the little free time I had I wanted to spend with my friends. Did Jason ever get in trouble? Sort of. My parents would punish him, sure, but it could barely be considered a punishment. All I could do was glare at him, the anger festering inside me. Now, you can see why I no longer am in contact with my parents at the age of 28. I hated how they treated me and did not understand why they could not hold my brother and me to the exact same standards. It wasn't fair. There came a point when I was a teenager that I had to realize this was how it was, and nothing I did was going to change it. My parents are never going to change their ways, so the easiest thing I could do is just keep my head down and not ruffle their feathers. All I had to do was last until I finished high school officially. Then I'd graduate, get a scholarship, and go on with my life. But the incident that made me decide to cut my parents off forever, it happened during my senior year of high school, simply because, of course, it was. I remember when I got to school that day. Everyone was staring at me, whispering behind my back. It was making me crazy nervous, and I finally took one of my friends aside to ask what the hell was going on. There was a rumor going around school. It had to do with me and my brother's ex-girlfriend, Missy. She and my brother broke up, and about a month before the incident, I had no idea why they broke up, and to be honest, I didn't even care. It was my brother's business, not mine, and Missy was spreading rumors about the two of us. For one, we had slept together about 3 months ago when my brother was out of town at a camp. She was 3 months pregnant with my baby. This could not be further from the truth. For one, I was a virgin at the time, and for two, Missy was not my type. Even if Missy had been the last woman on earth, I never would have dated her. She started spreading this rumor, so I had to keep denying it to everyone in school. No one understood why she would lie about it, but neither did I. It made no sense why she would make up such a lie to make my brother jealous. The rumors ended up getting back to my mother and father. I got home that day to my brother accusing me of being a terrible brother, a deadbeat father, and a terrible person. Missy told my brother she was sorry and that I told her to get rid of it because I wasn't going to be involved. I didn't say any of that. They would not listen to me, and for over a week they hounded me, telling me I had to take responsibility for what I've done. I told them there was nothing to take responsibility for because I hadn't done anything. It got to the point where they kicked me out of the house, and I came home 2 bags of my things packed and put outside. With nowhere to go, I went to the neighbors and called my aunt. She lived in the city over and had always been a soft place for me to fall. When I got a hold of her, she was shocked that my parents had done this and took me in. It was difficult living with my aunt because I had to switch schools, and when I ended up finishing up online and then readying myself for college. All the while this is happening, Missy is still spreading rumors. I managed to corner her and said that when the baby's born, I'm doing a DNA test. If I'm the father, then I want to prove it before signing the birth certificate. Duh. Do you think my parents apologized? No, of course not. They couldn't be bothered to apologize because that was their grandbaby. If they lashed out at Missy, then she would not allow them access, and at this point I decided it's time for me to cut my family out from my life. I went on to college enrolling in journalism. It's something I've always wanted to do. Fast forward 10 years to the present. I'm now 28 years of age with an illustrious career. I've been recognized for my journalism on national TV. This might have been where my parents saw me because soon after a recent TV appearance, they decided to write me a letter. Yes, a letter. Despite my better judgment, I did read the letter. A small part of me was hoping that they would be reaching out to apologize or at least congratulate me for everything I had achieved, but no, that's not what it was. My parents were reaching out to me because they needed help. Well, my brother needs help, according to my parents. My brother Jason was sick. He couldn't pay his medical bills and was currently in the hospital trying his best to focus on getting better while worrying about bills. My parents tried to pay what they could, but they were on a fixed income. Most of their money went to the mortgage, which they were paying off to this day, and I can't believe my parents are reaching out because my brother needs help. It proves my brother will always be considered number one. But my brother is sick, according to the letter. What if he's sick with cancer or something? I don't like my brother, but I love him still. How could I not? Despite all our issues, he is my brother. I do have the money to help him cover his medical bills too. It just makes me mad that my parents could not include one line of apology. They couldn't at least say that they were sorry for accusing me and for refusing to apologize after getting the DNA test results. I talked to my aunt about it, and she said that it's up to me. What do you think that I should do? A part of me wants to write them off like I've been doing, but my brother Jason is sick. He does have a kid, and the kid's in his life. If he's sick with a serious illness, I want to try to pay off the bills. Also, I can help him get better care by giving him a few more years to spend with his son. I'm going to step away and think about it for a few days. Please feel free to be as brutally honest as possible. If I keep flip-flopping, it's going to drive me insane. So I just want some advice from you guys. My question is, what should I do? Update number 1. Hey guys, it's me. I'm back. So, all the responses I've gotten from all of you have been overwhelming. I never thought so many people would respond to me, but it's nice to know that there's people out there who care about me and all of you are just strangers. Guess I haven't forgotten it from my own family since I don't expect it from anyone, to be honest. Anyways, on to the update. So, I agreed to meet with my parents to see what the hell they wanted about a week after they first reached out to me. What they had to tell me sent me reeling and honestly really mad. They told me that my brother he did need the money for medical bills, so I pushed, trying to figure out what the heck's wrong with him. Mom was a little hesitant and father wasn't even looking me in the eyes. I pushed more, threatening to leave if they didn't tell me I was going to walk back out of their lives this time for good. This spurred my father to be the one to disclose the info. Turns out my brother got into a car accident. It happens, but I sensed there was more to it. When I pushed, Mom admitted that the reason that my brother got into a car accident was because he was drinking. He was driving drunk. Yes, the accident was caused by my brother from the start. He wasn't ill or sick, which was my original thought. I would have helped if the accident weren't his fault. Like, say he was the one who was hit by a drunk driver, of course. But that's not what happened, guys. My brother, he caused the accident by crashing his car from drinking so much. He was going to live, but he was going to be in the hospital recovering for a while, and adding to that, he couldn't pay child support to his son, my nephew. So my parents wanted help on that. They wanted to make sure that their grandson was well taken care of. To be honest, I barely knew my nephew. I'd met him a few times when he was young, but had not seen him for years, except in pictures. Sometimes I would look him up just to see how he was doing, and the kid wasn't to blame for what's going on, you know? Not between me and my parents. He just happened to be born into a crappy situation and a family, and his mother was not much better either. You know how she was so quick to drag me into her crazy plan, I never got a true apology. From Jason's ex-girlfriend about trying to frame me for getting her pregnant. Not that an apology would have helped much, but I think it would have helped me feel a bit better. Eventually, I got up and left. They were shouting at me, but all I did was turn around and tell them that I was not helping. No amount of shouting is going to get me to change my mind. They can scream at me until they're blue in the face. My brother got himself into this mess he can get himself out. What should I do? Drop everything and help my brother when he did nothing but ruin my life? Over the past decade, I've made something of myself with no help from my father, mother, or brother. They just held me back. Cutting them off was the best thing I've ever done. They keep reaching out to me and are sending family members to tell me that I need to help them. They're all blocked. There's no way I'm going to help them, but I can't let them be either. Mom and Dad need to be taught a lesson. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to sit and think about it. If you have any ideas on how I can get revenge, then please do drop a suggestion. I'm willing to try anything at this point if I can make my parents squirm. Might sound messed up, but they deserve it after what they've done to me. Update number 2. Okay, I thought about it, and especially after reading your comments, a few people suggested I try to save face by agreeing to help my parents by giving them an ultimatum that they'll never be able to agree to. I thought long and hard about what it could be. What it ended up being was me deciding to tell my parents that the only way I was going to give them money was if they cut my brother off. They would get the money to help my nephew and pay for my brother's bills this one time, except afterward they would have to cut him off. He still lived with my parents, so they were going to have to just straight up kick him out. I decided to tell my parents this about a week after our initial conversation. It was enough time for me to figure out my game plan and what I wanted to do. They probably thought I was just taking time to figure out how to get the money to them, but joke's on them because I wasn't going to do that. The look on my parents' face fell. Dad started saying I was insane and that I was asking him something that wasn't right. But I stayed firm, resolute, told them that this is the only way I'm going to help them. If they don't do it, then they can kiss the money goodbye. My parents stormed off after that, and I tried not to laugh until they left, and honestly, it went exactly as I wanted it to. At this point, I think I won't have to deal with my parents anymore. It's a shame that this is happening with my parents right now. They still had a chance to talk with me about everything and make it right. Why couldn't they just suck it up and apologize to me? I can't believe they didn't. You would be surprised to hear that from me, but there's still a small part of me who wishes my parents would get their act together. I have an amazing career and have been dating someone casually for the past few months. The two of us might be going official after giving it a few months. But my parents are never going to know that because they refuse to get their act straight. I don't think I'm going to see my parents again, but anything could happen. If there are any more updates, I'll be back on here and just let you know right away. However, here's to hoping I won't have to, because I don't want to have to deal with my parents anymore. Not after everything at this point. Update number 3. Here I am. I'm back with another update. I haven't heard from my parents for about 2 long weeks. Did I think about them at all during this 2-week stretch? Yeah, I did, a little bit. But for the most part, I kept going on with my life. My thoughts were I was never going to talk to them again, or if they did reach out to me, then it was going to be them yelling at me about how much of a terrible son I was, or something. But I remained convinced they would not talk to me again until they did call me up to my surprise. I did expect them to keep reaching out to me, begging me for money. Then, when it became clear that I wasn't going to change my mind, they were going to lash out at me, saying I was a selfish jerk. But they didn't do any of that. Do you know what they did? They ended up telling me that they did it or were going to do it, and after mulling it over, they talked to my brother and told them, that they were going to help him out one last time. But once he got home from the hospital, he was going to have to go somewhere else. Under no circumstances could he keep living with them. To prove it to me, they recorded the phone call that they had with him, and he was not happy. My brother said a lot of curse words and insults that were all directed towards me. I almost wanted to laugh, but I managed to stifle it so I would not rock the boat right now. I told my parents that they would be getting the money, but I needed a few days to gather it. Please don't get mad at me. Some of you are screaming at the computer and writing up your angry comments as we speak, but I'm telling you, I don't mean it at all. The thing is, when I told my parents I was going to help, I was not telling the truth, silly Willy. I'm not going to give them anything. See, I never thought that my parents were going to do that in the first place, and they surprised the hell out of me when they told me that they were going to cut my brother off. My entire life, they haven't done anything like that for me. It's always my brother they gave all their attention to. He was the apple of their eye, and I was the one who was pushed to the side, held to the impossible standard, and it's not fair that they did this to me. So I'm going to mess with them a bit now. Is it childish? Yes, I never planned on giving them the money. Now that things have changed a bit, I must tweak my plan just a hair. Either way, my parents are not getting the money. I'll pop on here and make sure to let you know what's happening to my family. I promise you won't be disappointed with me. Under no circumstances am I going to change my mind. My parents and my brother will be getting no money from me. Why should they get my hard-earned money? So yeah, I'll probably have at least one update for you guys. Final update. This is it. This is going to be the last one, but let me tell you, it's one heck of an update. So my parents and I sat down the other day, about 3 days after our conversation. I met them at a cafe. It's better to meet people in public, so we're on a level playing field. We engaged in small civil talk for a while, which was shocking. I can't believe they even gave a crap to talk with me about anything involving my life. All they would want is to get straight to talking about my brother, but eventually they did get to the point where they were asking about the money. I smiled at them and took out a check. I wrote it out. They took it all smiles, but little did they know that all that was written on the check was a big "Go to hell." I wrote "Go to hell" on the check. Childish, probably, but it felt great to write that on the check. And you know what felt even better? Seeing the expressions on their face when they opened it up and read it. It wasn't an amount, but rather some words that I've been wanting to say to them for a while. After the shock wore off, they asked me what's going on. I just gave them a smirk and told them that I'm not going to give them the money. The whole time I was just stringing them along. If they had tried to reach out and apologize to me sometime in the past, then maybe things would be a bit different, but that's not how it went down. I got up and walked out.
Haven't heard from them since the dinner. They've tried to reach out to me, so my brother has too, but, well, that's it, I'm done. The only family I'll be talking to is my aunt because I love her. And besides her, I have my friends and my girlfriend. It's hard to say what's going to happen to my parents and my brother, but you know what? I don't care. I've written them off for good, and they will not be a part of my life at all in the future, the past, or the present, and I would have been sad about it, but now I'm just thrilled to not deal with them for a second longer.